And tonight on the Mac to the Future Go livecast, Apple is building a car because they hired this one dude from Tesla. iPhone sales are great in Taiwan. Someone somewhere made an iPad mini case, so it's decided there will be an iPad mini, and some other story that I haven't decided on yet, but Dave put in and I didn't change the show notes. Tonight on the Mac to the Future livecast. Oh, God. And we are already off to a wonderful start because that's just how this works. Let's see. Can I do this? Yes, I can. I don't know why I have that on yet. There we go. I am Guy Searle. I am one of your hosts of the Mac to the Future livecast. You can find me in all other kinds of stuff that we'll talk about later. No Warren Sklar this week. He is... Ow, I just hit my hand. He's still off doing Christmas stuff. David Ginsburg, on the other hand, has decided that he's not as busy as I am, so he's able to come on. That's not what I meant to say. He's not as busy as Warren is. Yeah, I don't know, but here he is. David
How's
Ginsburg.
it going, Guy?
You can. I am just not on the ball tonight.
Hey, day after Christmas, what can you expect? I mean,
yeah, did you guys do anything special for Christmas?
No, I stayed home yesterday. We had some family on Christmas Eve, and nothing too terribly exciting. No, not a lot of electronic gifts, but clothes and stuff. But
yeah. I got a couple nice things. I actually, because everyone struggles to figure out what it is that I may want or need, so I made an Amazon wish list and sent them all the link to it. It's like, look,
Same
just.
Here.
Pick something from the Amazon wish list and you can't go wrong. So I got 3 shirts, 3 nice long sleeve shirts that I needed because I just did a clothes dump where I went through like all of my clothes. I'd done this like twice last year. I don't know if I already talked about this. Got together a bunch of clothes that I don't wear anymore, and it's like, you know what? Instead of just having them, just send them off, give them to charity so that somebody else may get some use from them. But of course, that means that I had a lot less clothes. So, and of course, the other problem is I'm of such a size that I am like almost impossible to just walk into a store and buy clothes. I'm a 2XLT in shirts. So
a little bigger, but I do T.
Yeah,
you're taller than me, but I do T, so it gets over the belly.
Yeah, me too. Especially after last night. So I got 3 shirts. My wife also got me 2 Jerry Garcia ties that I really, really like. The kid, Guy Jr. got me, it's like a matched pair of lavalier microphones because the eventual goal is to be able to kind of like, comedians in cars kind of thing, be able to record 2 different people in the car and do a podcast that way. And I had been struggling trying to figure out, well, how am I going to do audio? Because if you get a microphone that's powerful enough to be able to hear both you and the other person, it's also going to pick up all the other noise that's in the car. So lavalier mics is the way to go. So he got me a matched set of lavalier mics that have a little dongle between them, and they'll plug directly into the headphone port, the TRRS connector in my iPod Touch that I use to record Guy's Daily Drive. So I'll need to test that out before next summer because, I may be taking a trip next summer somewhere.
Oh,
yeah. It could be somewhere. I don't really know.
Yeah.
So, and this will actually be what, the 5th year or the 4th year?
Yeah.
5th year.
Yeah, 5 years. I can't believe it.
Wow.
Next stock.
Man, it's such a, and we are like 7 months out from this event, people.
Yeah,
But
it is.
last year there was a marked upturn in the number of people that went to MacStock. So
Yep.
you really don't want to miss out if you live anywhere near the Chicago area or can get to the Chicago area, which is like ridiculously easy from almost anywhere on the planet. You don't want to miss MacStock. I've been going for the last 4 years, and I can't wait to go again. I wish he had them every month. I would go. Well, maybe not every month, but I would like to go again. I'm ready. I'm ready for MacStock again. So we have. Oh, I forgot to tell. Oh, I can't believe I forgot this. I made Christmas dinner, or at least I made the roast. And we were going to have like 6 to 7 people. So I said, well, I need a pretty big roast. So I got like this 6-pound roast and
I'll hold you.
did a rub on it and got it in the oven. And the way I figured, I needed about 2.5 hours for it to cook. And it was cooking. And then after the 2.5 hours, you take it out, cover it in foil, and let it kind of settle down a little bit. And my wife puts in all of the side dishes. So once I realized that the roast may not have been cooked to where most people are comfortable with eating a roast, it was like, oh crap, the sides are already in and you're kind of trapped. So we had a really rare roast, but it was still quite tasty. We were kind of killing off the leftovers tonight. That's what we were having for dinner. But nobody wants to hear about that. They want to hear about the Apple stuff.
Right.
So
it was a struggle to find some good stories because.
Well, we're in the doldrums. Yeah, we're in the doldrums right now. There's really nothing going on right now, and when you hear the stories that we have tonight, you'll sit there and go, "Wow, they really didn't have anything to talk about, did they?" But that has never in the 10+ years that I have been doing podcasts, David. I have never been without at least something to say about something. It didn't necessarily make sense, and it wasn't necessarily entertaining, but I could always find something to say. So, with that in mind, the first story, another Tesla executive is moving to Apple. This Andrew Kim, who was one of Tesla's senior engineers but has now taken a role at Apple, working on a undisclosed project. Yes. Most people are assuming it's some kind of car-related project. Which makes sense because why would Apple hire him otherwise? A car-related project, however, does not mean this is going to be an Apple car. Apple has said in regards to Apple-related automobile projects, we're focusing on autonomous systems, and clearly one purpose of autonomous systems is self-driving cars. There are others, and we sort of see it as the mother of all AI projects. And I have to say, with the astounding success that Apple has had with Siri, that this just fills me with all kinds of hope that Apple will be able to crack the autonomous car software thing, because they've done so well in so many other artificial intelligence related projects.
Wow. I really think, and I've had some discussions with people about automation and AI, augmented reality. I mean, it's in its infancy. I mean, it still has a long way to go. So even with self-driving cars, AI, all that stuff, I mean, I'd say within the next 5 or 10 years is where we're really talking. When
honestly, I think we're farther out than that, and I'll tell you why.
10, I'd say maybe 15. Yeah, that could be possible.
Right now, these kinds of systems rely on a number of sensors. They rely on things like radar and sonar and being able to, cameras that have some kind of intelligence that is built into them, so they can say, okay, well, there's, one side of the lane, here's the other side of the lane. And then it kind of relies also on GPS so that it can have a general idea of where it is. To me, the problem isn't that the cars aren't smart enough. It's that the roads are stupid. So you're driving on a road that was typically built and designed in the 40s and the 50s, as you know, the United States, here in this country anyway, as the United States started to kind of build out their infrastructure, and Eisenhower starting the interstate project, which was more actually what a lot of people don't understand about the interstate project that Eisenhower started. It wasn't really intended to be this huge thing where people can go, wow, I can drive all the way to Florida from Virginia or anything like that. It was really it had more military use than anything else. It was kind of a Cold War project, which is how he was able to get most of the funding for it. But that's completely beyond what we were talking about. So talking about what do you think that this guy is going to be working on, or what do you think Apple's take on an autonomous car is going to be? You don't think they're actually going to build a car, do you?
It's possible. Anything is possible. Or he's going to be working to really make CarPlay even a better product than it already is. I mean, CarPlay in itself, it is awesome, and I wish I had it in my car. I know you have it in yours, so I'm very jealous of that, because I mean, it's and that, just that technology alone. I mean, you saw my car. I love my car, but it's it's old technology, but it is what it is. But
I know.
I mean, but all the cars I've been in, the CarPlay rocks. I mean,
it does.
It's just so easy. You want to be able to access everything on your iPhone, and that's what I want to do. My car was
getting back to the AI part of it, Siri is still the weak link in CarPlay. It's the weak link actually on the phone, as far as I'm concerned. But the rest of it, where you hit a button on your steering wheel or ever say, I want to hear Metallica, or I want to hear Disney's greatest hits, or whatever floats your boat. It just pretty much knows what it is that you're going to do. Same thing with doing text or talk to text messaging and all the rest of that. It's very, very easy, and it doesn't require you to take a lot of attention off of what you're supposed to be doing when you're in a car driving, which is, of course, driving.
Right.
So
I mean, to come from a company like Tesla, I mean, Tesla's. I would love to have a Tesla. I mean, I think it's just an amazing car. It's just it's just not.
Have you driven one?
Cards. Never been in one in my life. I want to at one point. Have you?
I haven't driven one. There was you hesitate to call them dealerships, because that's not really how Tesla works. It was a storefront in a mall, and they had a Model 3 and a Model. What was the big sedan? The Model 1, whatever the huge sedan was, and it had this screen that was bigger. It was huge. This huge screen. And the whole time I'm in it, I'm like, oh, guy want. But you know what? I'm not going to spend that kind of money. No. Not on. And it's 50, still, for the most part, it's still, and it's unproven technology. Right. I mean, Tesla doesn't have all the answers as far as either autonomous driving or electric cars or batteries or any of the rest of it. He's making leaps of faith pretty much like every other company. And again, electric cars are not really going to take off until the power source that they all use as far as fuel is synonymous with every other car. And you and I talked about that on your show, In Touch with iOS, which you can find in iTunes. He said with a plug. So, you got anything else for this, or are we done?
No, I think we're done with this.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. For all the people and all the analysts who talked about how the iPhone XR and the iPhone XS and the XS Max, and that Apple was telling suppliers to, we're not going to need as many phones, and affecting the stock price and all the rest of that. Apparently, Apple leaps to number 1 in Taiwan. Showing yet again that context matters. A story written claims that while Apple is supposedly having issues with the sale of iPhones in Taiwan, they occupy more slots in the top 10 than any other brand for the month of November, With the first quarter of fiscal year 2019 coming to a close, analysts will have even less information coming directly from Apple in terms of sales, as the company has said that they aren't going to disclose sales figures going forward. What do you think about? Not so much the whole thing with Taiwan. That was kind of a
I know.
joke.
Really, I think Apple's starting to be a little concerned because I just got an email from them today through, as I'm on there, as many people are on their mailing list. Oh, you could trade in your phone and get an iPhone 10R for $449, starting at $449 with the trade. So they're really trying to get people to trade in their old phones. They need the iPhone 7, the iPhone 8. That kind of tells me that they're a little concerned that it didn't sell as well as it should have. And their supply is higher than demand right now. I mean, I don't think there's any problems getting a phone. And
I think the big problem is that number one, there was the huge leap when the iPhone 6 first came out, because that was their first big phone. And if you look at a sales chart of Apple phone sales, starting with the iPhone 4, the iPhone 5, all the way up to the current day, you've got this tremendous spike when the 6 was released. And the stupid thing, especially with analysts, is that they seem to think that Apple should be able to have a spike like that every year. And the thing was that was an anomaly. It doesn't reflect reality. There was a pent-up demand for a big phone. So until Apple, or by extension some of the Android phone makers, can come up with a compelling reason beyond, especially on the Android side, your phone after a year and a half is basically a piece of crap, then you're not going to see these big, huge sales spikes. It's just not going to happen. And every single year, as you get close to that magic month, or that magic 30-day period in September, October, we should really rename that. That should be Septober or something like that. The iPhone month, Septober. You keep hearing, well, is this going to be the breakout year? The year that Apple's iPhones, sees that huge spike because this phone is going to be so much better and so much different from all the other phones. But honestly, other than losing the headphone port, which some people still complain about. I mean, I still use it, but I'm kind of like, what's the big deal? You've got these things here. You've got all kinds of other ways to interact with your phone, even with getting audio into it through a microphone or anything along those lines.
I mean,
but
Bluetooth is rebel. Yeah, Bluetooth is Bluetooth.
They last longer, which is seems to be a source of concern.
Oh.
Damn it, we've got to stop making them so great, because they're just not falling apart. My wife uses a 5.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to move up because she doesn't want a big phone. So she's still on the 5. I tried to talk her into getting an SE when those were still available. I think they've dropped those now, haven't they?
Apple dropped them, but the carriers are still selling them, because I saw even T-Mobile was still selling it. I think AT&T and Verizon is too. So they're still selling that phone. They still have stock left. I mean, it just isn't available through production anymore.
Yeah. Well, getting my wife to change tech that's working is like pulling teeth.
No,
I got her.
I think we're all in the same boat.
Yeah. Well, she was using my old iPad 3, and she doesn't do much with it, but it was kind of like, okay, well, you haven't been able to update that going back like 2, maybe 3 OSs. So it's time to kind of put that to the side. So I found a great deal on an iPad Air 2 for I think it was like $250, $300, something like that. A really good price. So I got it, and it came in, and she was like, "Why did you get another iPhone or another iPad for?" I said, "Well, this isn't for me. This is for you, to replace your 10-year-old iPad 3." And she said, "There's nothing wrong with my iPad 3. It's fine. I'm happy with it." It's like, no, you just, can we just get you on something a little newer? Is that okay? Can we just take the iPad 3 and put it off to the side and take this other one that's going to be much faster. It's going to run the latest operating system, and just let's move on from there. But with the phone, go ahead.
No, you said the Air 2? Really? I mean, you didn't buy the 6th gen? Because the 6th gen was being sold for $249 and $229.
This was Friday. just before the 6th gen came out. And if I had known it was coming out, I would have waited. Because as nice as the iPad Air 2 is, and as nice of a price as I got it for $250 or whatever.
Back then, it was good. Yeah.
To get the latest one, the latest non-pro iPad, because I think they were selling for what, $329, something like that.
That's the base price, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had two family members that just got new iPads over the Christmas holiday. It was both two of my family members and my wife's family members. And they both had Airs, and they both were. I mean, it was my mother-in-law. She got the Air. She had an Air. My wife has the Air 2, and of course I got the iPad Pro. But I went to Best Buy during Black Friday. It was $249, and then Walmart was selling it for $229. So,
what, the new iPad?
Yeah, the 6th gen. Yeah. So once I switched them, they're like, "Holy cow, this is so much faster!" And it's just the Air. The Air is still current. It still runs iOS 12, but they saw right away the difference in the performance because you're going to like an A10, A11 processor versus that's probably on an A8. So I mean, they the
totally 3 was like an A4 or A5.
Yeah, the 3, forget it. Yeah, that's
the 3 was kind of like, hey, I'm gonna run this app now. Hold on here, Sonny.
I think the 3 was also a 30-pin connector, so I think too. So
very much so. So and I've been trying to figure out a way because my mother-in-law lives out in Boise, Idaho, and my wife's sister is out there with her. But my mother-in-law isn't, she's not that technically inclined. She is 90 years old, but I think she could get the hang of an iPad very well and FaceTime with Tracy and FaceTime with the nephews that are all over the country, that kind of thing. And of course, that's not all an iPad is good for. But I was just kind of thinking, well, this would be a way because now that my sister-in-law is living with her to help kind of take care of her. Well, one of the first changes she made when she got there was like, okay, not only are we getting cable, we're also getting in high-speed internet. That's a thing. That's what's going to happen.
Don't even get me started about that.
Yeah. So they have high-speed internet. So there's no reason why they couldn't just go ahead and just use an iPad for those things.
The older seniors they're getting a hang of technology. I mean,
sure.
I know the story we're talking about is the iPhone and just upgrading to technology here, but once they start using iPhones and iPads, seniors, and I work with seniors all the time with my Apple user group.
What?
So, I mean,
What'd you say?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna be 60 in a year and a half, dude. Be careful what you say there.
When I say seniors, you're going 70 up. But I mean, I love them. I mean, that's why I do it because I enjoy sharing my knowledge with those folks. But I mean,
sure.
It's fun. It's fun to see those folks be
the light bulb go off.
Oh wow, this iPad really can be really valuable. And they're saying, "Oh my God, I can do my crossword puzzles. I can play Words with Friends. I can play my daily puzzle. I can look things up. And,
Sudoku,
Sudoku, whatever it is. I mean, they just love using it just for that reason. And this gives them a reason they don't need to have those are the folks that don't need a laptop. Then this is a flat out good device. I mean, same thing with their phone. I mean, my mother-in-law's got 8. She has the 8 Plus. 8 Plus is a great phone. I mean, it's and she's very happy with it because
that's what I use.
I watch her. I watch her use it. It's great. I mean, I never in a million years have thought that she would be able to get the hang of it. But she's had an iPhone for, I got the 10s Max, but basically same size, and it's great. I mean, it's great to see that folks are starting. It's all over the spectrum. It's not young, old. That's what's great about these devices.
Okay, we are going to take a little break here, and when we come back, we've got 3. We have 3 more stories to talk about before we give it a rest for this evening. So everyone, please hold on, and we shall be right back. Yeah. Are you a new Mac user or an old hand? Wish you could know the ins and outs, keyboard shortcuts, or hidden tips and tricks to make you more efficient using your favorite computer? Hey, it's your lucky day, because Edward Eisen has written a great guide to knowing more about the Mac and the OS that it runs on. It's called This is the Light Side, and it's available through Apple's iBookstore or with Amazon. Better yet, it's not a stuffy old book that gathers dust on the shelf once the next operating system is released, because it's an ebook that you can look at any time you want. It won't get outdated because it's continuously being updated. Information on setting up your new Mac, installing and getting rid of applications, security settings and what to look out for, keyboard shortcuts, some basic app recommendations, how to use Windows on your Mac, if you really want to, that is, advanced topics, searching, using iCloud, and much more. All this for a mere 99 cents. Go to the iBookstore or Amazon and check out Edward Eisen's This is the Light Side. It's the book you want on your virtual shelf. And are we back? There we are. Yes, we are back. All right. It's almost 8:30. We got to step this up. There was an interesting thing this is something that has made the news over the last couple of days, and I think we talked about it in one shape, form, or another when we were on each other's shows earlier in this month. The rumor is that there is a new iPad mini coming out. Now, frankly, I get that people would like a smaller iOS slab. But I just never really saw the point of the iPad mini, but a lot of people do love them. And the fact that Apple kind of canceled them and that might bring them back has got a lot of people excited. In this particular case, I wouldn't be too excited because this is a story from Redmond Pie. I guess I should probably hit the button that has the link. There we go. And they're basically saying that this leaked. I love this. This is a leaked photo, Dave, of an iPad Mini 5 case. It was originally leaked, I guess, on this site called Slash Leaks.
Mac Rumors picked it up too.
Yeah. That tech reporters, and this pretty much shows that tech reporters have very little to talk about in the December to February timeframe. The story goes into great details about camera placement, whether the microphone is going to be moved as compared to previous iPad minis, and whether or not it'll get a flash. All this with absolutely no regards to the fact that Slash Links can't or won't say where the case is from, which is important since Apple won't be releasing hardware designs to case makers for a new product, and Slash Leaks should know this and approach this with a grain of salt. Instead, we are subject to a writer who is talking about this, not from the perspective of, well, this is something that we saw and these are the kinds of things that may happen. He's like, oh, this is what the new iPad mini is going to be. And my God, you've got this and you've got, it's like, oh, for F's sake, shut up. It makes me crazy when these rumor sites use, number one, they use these clickbait articles or clickbait titles to get you sucked in, and then you find out, oh, okay, so someone somewhere made an iPad mini case, and you're just assuming that this means that Apple's getting ready to release one.
Well, if I compare this, I love how they always start off with leaked photos. I'm a big reader of Mac Rumors. I think Mac Rumors is a very reputable site. I know this article that we're linking to is in Redmond Pie, but like you said, they're a little slow in the news group time here. But generally, whenever I read anything on Mac Rumors, when they say alleged, I take it, like you said, take it with a grain of salt. There is no guarantees at all that anything that is ever talked about is going to come out. There had been lots of discussion about the the iPad Mini that was going to be released at some point.
Right.
It is a nice form factor. I have to admit, I had one for a little while when I was doing some work with it, and I did like it. I like the size of it, and I think a lot of people do just because of that reason. And I think Apple's starting to see there might be still a little bit of a market left on it. I mean, why do you think, like I just mentioned earlier, about all these retailers selling the 6th gen iPad for so cheap? It's just they want to get people in now. I'm starting to see this. Apple's starting to really think that, hey, we want to get more people that are in the Apple ecosystem, not just the high end, and have to understand that sometimes they gotta cut some costs. And I see this starting to happen more and more. Just watching. This is the first year in many ever I can remember that you start seeing things that are lower priced and lower priced products just to get people in. So I'm not surprised, but like I said, take it with a grain of salt. I don't think we say much more on this.
Yeah, well, and it's really in Apple's best interest because, I mean, not 100% of the time, but the old adage of once you go Mac, you never go back is yeah. That's kind of true.
It is.
You have more people that are switching from Android to iOS or from Windows to the Mac.
Good segue.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's in the next article. So I guess we'll save that for there. All right, so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to switch to the next one.
Just helping you for a little time here.
I know. iPhone XR attracting more Android switchers than other iPhones. The iPhone XR, for all of its reported woes, David, in sales.
Oh, so many
woes. Whoa! Is the biggest draw when it comes to Android switchers to iOS, taking an estimated 16% of new users. These are people that I guess are new to smartphones. The phone is also selling around 32% of all iPhone sales as compared to the two models of the XS, that's the XS and the XS Max, at 35%. So if this is true, and, I mean, who knows? But if this is true, then the talk of people, analysts saying that iPhone sales are down across the board and they're canceling. I think this is blatant to me, and I've brought this up before. I think this is mostly just blatant stock manipulation, and sooner or later, I just can't see how the Fed has let this go on as long as it has, without somebody going, you know what? Isn't it kind of weird how these analysts that work for these big investment firms will come out and say, oh, well, yeah, Apple's devices aren't selling like they should, and they're doing this wrong and they're doing that wrong. Stock price goes way down, and suddenly somebody's making a lot of money, selling it short. So then they'll turn around 2 weeks later, once they've picked up a bunch of stock, and say, sorry, it looks like Apple's stuff is really selling well. And then the stock price goes back up again. And this has been a constant cycle for a while. And I just can't believe that nobody in the FTC or who is it that monitors the stock exchange? Is that the FTC?
It's SEC.
SEC.
SEC. Securities and Exchange
Commission. Right. That none of them are looking at this and trying to figure out. And it's not just that they do this with Apple. It's that they're doing it across the board in technology, and it's not right.
But and even with the stock and with this article talking about switchers, I'm not that surprised that it's happening, only because now there's finally an affordable version of an iPhone. The XR is a much more affordable phone than even going back to the 8 and now the XS and the XS Max and the XS and the XS Max.
Well, the SE is still available, but the SE is now also. That was basically the guts of what, a 6 or a 6S.
No, it was a 5S because the 6S was bigger.
Well, but they were able to condense.
They took the 6S guts and put it into the SE,
put it into an SE,
into a 5S guts.
Yeah.
basically.
But at the same time, you're talking about now you have a phone, the 10R, that other than not having an OLED screen and not having the second camera lens, is modern. It's modern technology. It's got the same processor as the 10s and the 10s Max. It's they're kind of brothers from another mother, as far as phones go.
Exactly. But even if you spin this article a little bit about Android, I mean, we've talked about this before. Android phones are all over the place. I mean, every manufacturer other than Google's own Pixel and maybe Samsung. I mean, the models.
Including Samsung. If you're talking about the operating system,
yes. I mean, it becomes obsolete within 6 months to a year, and
with no
Samsung's
updates.
even the worst, and with no updates. I mean, again, I've had this argument many times talking about this in my show as well as here. Just I have nothing against Android. I mean, I have an Android device, and Android, I think it's got its place, and they're great devices. The Pixel models are awesome. I mean, I'm amazed that those haven't become more mainstream. I mean, Google has really locked them down to you could buy them from us, or you have only Verizon to buy them from as far as the carrier goes. I don't understand why that model has not become available on every carrier, at least the 3 or 4 big ones.
Well, probably. I mean, it's kind of like what Apple did with the iPhone and Singular and AT&T. Yeah, there was a certain amount of time for exclusivity, and Verizon or whoever it is that's carrying those phones paid extra to get that exclusivity. Well, of course.
And then but the Pixel's been around for what, 3-4 years now. I mean, I think it's overdue. So I mean,
there's another problem, and that's that because it is pure Android, it means that AT&T,
they can't control it.
Excuse me, and the other carriers can't load up their own crap on it. And loading up their own crap on it is partially how they make their money on these phones. Especially
Samsung.
Yeah.
That whole other story by itself.
Take the shotgun approach to techs and, throw as much crap as you can on the wall and see what sticks. So, and of course the problem there lies that if you as a consumer, you buy one of the things that didn't stick, well, you're screwed, because that phone will never see updates. That phone will never get any other love from whatever company made it, because it didn't sell in enough numbers to make it worth their while. So they're like, well, just buy another phone. They're so cheap. Just buy another phone. Buy another phone. But sign up for another 2-year contract.
Buy new phones. They don't want to do it. I mean, I guess I'm the minority, because I buy a new phone every year. I trade in my phone. I get a different phone.
Gaz does that too.
I love doing that. I do it every year because I want to stay up on technology. That's why I do it, and they're giving me the opportunity to do it, so I'm going to do it. But I'm not the norm. There's many people who hold on to their phones for, as we said, 4 or 5 years sometimes. Some people are just so used to the size they don't want to change. I have a buddy who didn't want to change to his size. He had the iPhone 5, went to the SE. I talked him into it. I said, yeah, this is the phone you should get. So he's super happy with it because he likes that size phone. That's great.
Yeah.
At least he's
my wife likes a smaller phone too.
Right. So anyway,
right.
It's an interesting article. It's interesting to see that the iPhone 10R is. I mean, we've kind of contradicted what we talked about tonight, because it's selling best in Taiwan, but it is selling relatively well. It's not.
Yeah.
We're never going to know now because they're not going to disclose numbers, but
no.
I have confidence that the 10R is going to be okay.
One thing that Apple has done very, very well, especially as compared to, and this is something that makes Android phone makers crazy, is that Apple has the highest retention rate of people that buy stuff in the industry. So if and I was saying a little while ago, once you go Mac, you never go back. Once you have an iPhone, chances are the next phone you get is going to be another iPhone. They have something like an 85% retention rate, which is crazy. So that's why when these stories come out that say, oh, well, they didn't get this big boost like they got this year or that year or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter. Sooner or later, 85 to 90% of those people that bought the phone and had that great big huge spike, they're going to turn around and buy another iPhone. So what does it really matter if they sell 1.6 million phones or 1.8 million phones?
It doesn't. And
They'll be back.
every time. They'll be back.
They'll be back. Yeah.
Not worried.
Can't get rid of me. Yeah.
No worries.
All right. Well, this next one is yours. So why don't you talk about that one?
Yeah, I just threw this out there only because it caught my eye, and everything has been talked about with privacy concerns, especially with this wonderful platform we're on right now, Facebook.
What?
It's been a
No,
nightmare
Mark
with
Zuckerberg.
personal-
Mark Zuckerberg loves me, and he would never do
You
anything,
and me. No,
anything to change that.
So they did a survey among a data research firm, it says in here, of the public's trust of all these different companies. And Apple ended up being low. It was 4%, but they were just above Microsoft, Netflix, and Tesla. Netflix at 1%, Tesla 1%, Microsoft 2%. But Facebook 40% of people who trust least of their personal information. And I'm not surprised.
No,
I feel
and
safe.
it's
Apple.
not just Facebook.
No, it's all these companies. Amazon's 8%, Twitter 8%. I mean, all these different companies. And interesting. It's interesting to see. Look at this in this this list. It has Uber and Lyft both on this list. Not trusting with your information with them as well. So, and that's a whole other different business. So most of these companies are technology companies, but in retailer, it's retail technology. So I found it interesting. Not surprised about Facebook at all.
Yeah.
But I think Apple, I think I think they're pretty safe with your personal information for the most part.
But I mean, there's been a crap ton of exploits this year. I mean, this past year I think has been the worst that it's ever been, as far as retailers getting hit, and it almost always comes down to the same thing: some disgruntled employee who has access to server records goes ahead and opens it up and makes it available to everybody, or there's some exploit that some one of their wonderful IT people didn't patch when everybody was going, you really should patch this, patch that, and they don't do it, and then the next thing you know, you read about 600,000 users of Kmart or whatever have all of their personal data that's been exposed, including hashed credit cards.
Target a number of years ago, if you remember. Don't forget that. So it happens. It's happened to many different companies over the years, and it'll continue to be a problem.
I stopped using because I don't like to carry a lot of credit card debt. I was using my ATM card a lot. I stopped using it at Target and a lot of these other places. It's just like I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. And you you don't have the protection with an ATM card that you do with a lot of credit cards.
You have a lot of trouble with ATM cards. Debit cards, I avoid even using them as credit cards whenever possible. Just use a credit card that's a regular credit card, and something happens, they got your back. ATM, they could clean out your checking account pretty quick. So
yes, they
that's
can.
Another story. That's
all right. Well, I think.
So.
No, go ahead.
No, I mean, again, to sum up the article, to take a look at it, it's interesting to see where we're at, and cyber is going to continue to be a problem. So.
And I just realized I hadn't switched the graphic over.
That's okay.
But it's there now. Hooray! So,
yay.
David, when you're not sitting there going, why isn't he putting the graphic up? What do you do with your spare time, and how can people get a hold of you?
Well, you can get a hold of me on Twitter at DaveG65, and I do 2 podcasts currently. I'm doing In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. Having a blast doing that with the rotating list of guests. A guy will be on again sometime soon in the near future. And I also do another podcast with a friend of mine, Steve, and it's offthechartsHorseRacing.com. That's a little different podcast from technology. Talk about horse racing and handicapping. So we'll find out. We have a lot of fun doing that too, and that's.
And you guys have a pretty good record with that too, don't you?
Yeah, we got 68 episodes in the can, and then this is kind of the slow, like Apple. This is the slow year for horse racing, but it'll start picking up again next year. A lot of big races coming up, and we have a lot of fun every year, and we even have like you try with Patreon. We're trying to even get people to help us out a little bit too. So because we help you out when you give you some picks, and you get to win some money. So
there was a guy I worked for in Ohio that had his own real estate company along with the electronic company that I was working for.
Yep.
And he and a bunch of his buddies, he was mostly retired. You know, he went into the office every day, but it was mostly just, I just want to get out of the house. So he had this huge Winnebago. And during the summertime, when the tracks were open in Cleveland, he and a bunch of his buddies would jump in the
Yep.
Bago and drive up to Cleveland for a day watching the horse races.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He was a good guy.
It's a fun and interesting thing, and then like I said, you could do a podcast on just about anything.
You can. You actually can. If you would like to get a hold of me, I got to change this. Ignore that email address. It's going to go away very, very soon. Right now, the best way to get a hold of me is guy at mttf. No, it's guy at mymac.com. Here I am reading what I shouldn't be reading. What's that say? Guy at mymac.com probably, and I am also Mac Parrot on the Twitters. I do the mymac.com podcast every single week with Gazmaz. We just recorded our 450th show, and we've been doing it so long we didn't even realize it until the next week.
So you can talk about next week.
Yeah. So I also do once or twice a week. It's been a little spotty lately. Guy's Daily Drive that I recorded in my car because I can. It's stream of consciousness kind of thing. Most of that consciousness should probably would be better served driving the car, but I still have a pretty good time with it. And I have a brand new website, David. It's called vertshark.com, which basically just stands for Vertical Shark Publishing, because macparrot.com was not available. Somebody took it after I let it lapse. So what are you going to do? But it's all there. All the stuff that I do, all the podcasts. Eventually, I plan on getting some more writing in there. Right now, it's mostly a podcast. It's not a repository. It's where all the links are, though, to some of the various podcasts. One of the things I would like to do, and I experimented with it a number of years ago, would be to have some kind of call-in function on a live show. And it wouldn't necessarily even be a video show like this, but maybe just a strictly audio show where people could call in. I'm still kind of working on it and trying to figure out how I could fit it in. Probably some other podcast would have to go because I don't think I could do 4 podcasts a week.
2's enough for me.
Yeah. Well, that's probably part of the reason why Guy's Daily Drive has been a little spotty lately. Anyway, I think that is going to do it for the evening. Thank you so much for coming on, Dave. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thanks to everyone. Thanks to everyone who has taken the time to watch and listen, or maybe it's the other way around, to listen and watch the what show? What is this show? This is the Back to the Future Go live cast. It is greatly appreciated, and we will see you next week. Say goodnight, Dave.
Good night, Dave.
Yeah, we're still live.
I know.
So that's going to be it for tonight, folks.
Yep. There wasn't a lot of people that came in today. I'm sad.
Yeah, well, it happens.
It's after Christmas. I could be expected.
God, got a ton of notifications, but I'll have to look at those later. For some reason, they weren't. People's comments weren't showing up on either